So much of what ails us is truly of our own creation. After over 30 years of working with business managers as a salesperson, sales manager, closer, business manager, finance director, and F&I Performance Coach, so many of those ailments have been witnessed. None of us needs to be reminded of the difficulty associated with the sale of intangibles. The products we produce are nearly always limited to a contractual nature and almost never sell themselves. We, therefore, must be communicating on an effective, relatable, value-centric basis. What's in it for our guests? Tact, according to the New Oxford American Dictionary, is defined as adroitness and sensitivity in dealing with others or with difficult issues. Catch that part about sensitivity? Are we paying attention constantly to our guests' body language and overall reactions to our words and actions? Are we employing the very uncommon common sense? Let's first consider how sensitivity to our environment is so important. For example, when we describe a provision of our suite of products as coverage or packages, we may sometimes hear our guests quickly retort, "I don't want any of that coverage or those packages." Will hubris win the day? In other words, when this occurs, are we writing off the response as that of just another difficult guest? Perhaps instead of leaning into the left hook of offering coverage and packages, we might consider modifying our verbiage to regard our offering as protection, peace of mind, or security. After all, a tremendous amount of money is invested annually by many of us toward these pursuits. These are important ideas to most of us. Besides, folks don't seem too inclined to object to these sentiments. Let's trend away from objection toward the acceptance of our message. Clearly, tact will provide service to our goal of effective communication. The importance of tact cannot be overstated. We ignore its significance perilously. To do so is to fail at the appropriate administration of sensitivity and shake hands with mediocrity. Instead, we will succeed with the help of humility. And since not one person encountered to date has identified being mediocre as a goal, let's consider some additional less than tactful approaches and their more productive tactful alternatives. Sometimes our guests seem to regard our presentation and recommendation rather dismissively with, "I don't have one on my old vehicle and I haven't needed it." There's the less than tactful response to this objection of, "Oh yeah? Well, then you'll be able to fall back on your 50-50 warranty. If it breaks in half, you own both halves." No bueno. Comedy improv is down the street, not here. The tactful response would be, "Oh, Mary, I completely understand. I'm glad you didn't have one on your old vehicle because it would have been a waste of money or we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But who would have thought just 3 years ago that you and we'd be sitting here now with a labor rate of blank dollars per hour, blank percent higher than just 3 years ago. That the parts have gone up blank percent in the same 3 years. Heck, I just recently looked up the value year over year of a popular auto parts store's stock. It had increased 39.5% in 1 year. Folks are being staggered by inflation. The protection provided for here takes the exposure to much of the drama that goes with keeping a vehicle running off of your plate. And it's not just at today's labor rates and parts prices, but those of the entire coverage period. Or perhaps following our presentation and recommendation, Mary looks at Mike and says, "I don't know, Mike, what do you think?" And Mike's response is, Nah, we don't need it. The less than tactful response would be, careful, Mike. I know a couple that split up over car repairs. Whoa, we may be threatening Mike with a good time. The tactful response would be, Mary, Mike, guys, it has been my experience that when the expense of keeping a vehicle running properly shows up, the drama becomes a shared difficulty. Taking advantage of these protections ensures that neither of you will be responsible for any of the expenses provided for here. Someone else will pay for 100% of all covered parts and labor, less your deductible. We could review less than tactful approaches for how much time do you have? Your coach's job security is important after all. Meanwhile, we may take it upon ourselves to utilize sensitivity to our guests' reactions while employing humility to discover ways to enhance our communication skills. Mediocrity sucks. Let's be effective and relatable on a value-centric basis to share what's in it for our guests. Let's use a little uncommon common sense. Think about it. Good luck and good selling.